Hello, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the Elevate with Erica podcast. I'm your host, Erica. My mission is to connect with you through our stories and in that process, spread inspiration for you to go do amazing things with your life. I had crushed that this is the way to the perfect job, marriage, and kids checklist and was left unhappy, stressed, living paycheck to paycheck, and unfulfilled. I knew there had to be more to life than wishing away the week until Friday. I found proof that there was more to life than the one I was living, and that's what I'm here to do for you and with you. Are you ready to create a life that gets you excited? Then elevate with Erica. Grab a bottle and get comfy, friends. It's time for some unfiltered advice. Welcome back to another episode of Elevate with Erica. Only 2 more episodes left of 2021. It's truly hard to believe I made this dream a reality and that 2021 is coming to an end. Today, I'm hoping to catch you before you start making those New Year's resolutions. I can definitely come up with more failed resolutions than I can ones that I have been successful at. What about you? But we have the best intentions on January 1st, don't we? All the motivation is there. We're fired up. Things generally aren't as busy in January. We're sort of just somewhat relieved that the pressure and events of the holiday season are over. Because I don't know about you, but my husband and I have had plans every weekend since around October. And while they've all been so much fun, if there's one thing I look forward to in January through March, which isn't much because it's just cold AF and we hardly get any snow here on the East Coast of Maryland. If it's going to be cold and windy, can you at least give me something pretty to look at? But if there's one thing I look forward to, it's a little bit of a slowdown, at least until all the camping trips and baseball takes over. So some of the resolutions I've made fit that season of my life in January, but not all seasons. And I have the best intentions, I'm going to make time for this for the rest of the year, no matter what. I'm worth it. I can do this. What I want matters. And then that New Year's momentum starts to slide and you're like, you know what? My sleep matters too. And then little by little, we slip here and there. And before you know it, we forgot all about that resolution. I promised myself I was going to learn to play the guitar 30 minutes a day every day. And that was great until my kids came home for distance learning. Until I was running a business that needed to replace some of the income I sacrificed in leaving my full-time job last year. And then when I couldn't do it every day like I promised to myself, I just felt like I failed. And 3 days wasn't good enough because I had told myself I was going to do 5. And then life happened and I felt like I failed. I would just never learn how to play guitar ever. So dramatic, right? Last year I wrote down as one of my goals for 2021 was to release a podcast episode once per week. Why? Well, because all the top podcasters do that. Well, never mind that they had successful businesses behind that they were generating wealth from those businesses, that they had started their podcast way before I ever even thought of what a podcast was. That wasn't realistic for me. But luckily, by the time I actually went on to record my first episode, I stated in that first episode that I would be issuing a new episode every 2 weeks. Now, see, that's way more realistic. I hope to get to the point where I'm issuing a new episode every week, but that's just not the phase of business I'm in right now. This podcast is more of my fun little side hustle, an additional way to connect with people through our stories, which is one of my favorite things to do. But this podcast is not directly related to income at this point. I'm still in the stage of building the foundation of my business, and while I want to do it all right now, I want to make sure I'm building a steady foundation first, if that makes sense. So this year, it wasn't smart for me to give more time than what it would take to issue a bi-weekly podcast. But look, I've been able to sustain that. And if I had went in and said I had to do this every week, I'm not sure you'd even be listening to this episode right now. I'm pretty certain I would have quit. That would have overwhelmed me, stressed me out, and removed all joy I found on this platform. And that's exactly what I want you to think about as you start thinking about your 2022 resolutions. I'm not saying that your resolutions shouldn't be challenging. They should be. Change requires you to get uncomfortable. But I am saying, can you be more realistic? Think of your busiest time of year right now. I know that can be different for all of us, but what is your busiest time of year? Make a resolution that will still fit into that time. Not a resolution that sounds good in January. What can you still maintain during that busy season? There is your resolution. Then, when you're not in that busy season and you can do more, hey, look at you go. You'll be so proud of yourself. And then when it gets busy, look, you're still living up to that commitment you made to yourself. Do you see how in that you'll feel proud of yourself? And that'll give you the push to keep going. That's how you motivate yourself. Versus selecting a resolution that fits into your slow season and then getting to the busy season and you have to pull back so much that you just feel like a failure. Because to be successful at anything, you don't have to be the best on day one. You don't have to be different. You simply have to be what most people aren't, and that is consistent. So set goals that you can be consistent in. It's that small shift I hope you'll think about this time. It truly can be your best year yet when you do that. You know, there's so many resolutions you can make, but I'm going to talk about health and fitness real quick, just because I know that's a popular category. We got the best of intentions in us, don't we? We think about the choices we made this year that we don't love. We think about what someone else is doing on social media and how amazing they look. We get so filled with motivation and intention and this is my year that we then say, okay, on January 1st, I'm going to work out an hour a day, 5 days a week. Cut carbs, cut sugar, no alcohol Monday through Friday, or all together. No eating out, meal prep every Sunday, etc. You get the idea. I know this, or at least some of that, probably sounds familiar to you. We are just going to do it all at once, right? But seriously, think about everything I just said. Honestly, every one of those things would be a challenge on its own, right? Every one of those things would force us to do things differently, to adjust our life around, to make a change. Can we just pull back a little? That's a lot to maintain for 365 days, right? That's a lot to live up to. That's with the assumption that nothing is going to come up either, right? That God forbid we aren't going to lose a loved one. Our child is not going to get sick. Someone isn't getting laid off from work. Kids aren't back home on distance learning. Just that life doesn't happen. What about your resolution instead be? January through February, I'm going to build my workout routine. And then you set realistic routine resolutions around that you can commit to in your busiest season. And then in March and April, I'm going to incorporate cooking more meals in, preparing vegetables in new ways, etc., and so forth. You get the idea. A change or two at a time, and then you stack those changes. Gosh, that sounds like a way more joyful process than trying to tackle it all at once. And you know what? Your end goal is still the same. Your desired destination is still the same. But see, your prior plans weren't working. And it doesn't mean that we're changing the goal. We're changing the way that we're going to get there. And I just guarantee that you're way more likely to get there with the latter approach. And I know that you will not be freaking miserable and thinking self-sabotaging thoughts like you're failing when life happens during the process. I want you to want to push yourself out of your comfort zone in 2022. I mean, this is called Elevate with Erica, right? I want you to live like tomorrow is not promised because it isn't. But I just want you to see that there's a way to create new habits and build new routines without depriving yourself completely of things, without exhausting yourself, without removing all forms of joy from the process. I hope something resonated with you today. I hope someone has a light bulb moment and approaches their 2022 resolutions totally different than in years past. I hope that 2022 is your best year yet. But I'm going to throw you one more piece of love as I close this out because I'm your girlfriend that's always going to be here letting you know I'm in this with you, but also asking you where you're holding yourself back. I want to know why you're waiting until January 1st to start those resolutions. What about new day resolutions? New hour resolutions? Don't turn me off. Don't turn me off. I just asked you what your busiest season of the year was, right? Is that now? I bet for some of us it is. I mean, for me it is. Okay, so what can you do today to start working on that resolution? If not today, what can you do this week? I'm just saying, The time will never be perfect. The time is now. Remember, tomorrow is not promised. 2022 is not promised. Don't sit on your goals, waiting around on January 1st and Monday's why not today. I think today sounds pretty damn good. And when you can do more in January because the holiday rush is behind you, you can celebrate you for going above and beyond. But we don't need a new year to change our life. Just a new morning, a new hour. All right, guys, if you haven't closed me out yet and you're still here listening, although maybe rolling your eyes, let's raise our glasses for a cheers. And what are we drinking? My mind is on bubbly right now, so let's pretend it's that. Cheers to saying goodbye. Goodbye to resolutions that only set us up for failure. Goodbye to habits that do not serve us. Goodbye to self-sabotage. And hello to putting joy in the journey of change. And hello to embracing the struggle that comes with change too. For we may not know what 2022 holds, but we have this day to make a deposit into who we want to be. No more jumping the staircase, but instead finding joy on every step. Until next episode, friends. E.